you're saying that the thing that is preventing you from wanting to be codependent on a man, actually engage in this marriage, totally giving
is because I've become disillusioned with the state of tradcons, and I think they're a hoax.
No, you don't think it's true. You're picking on tradcons because you think that they're your ideological opponents. I don't think they are.
I don't think so. But if that was the case, I wouldn't date them.
I think that if one identifies as a liberal feminist, then necessarily tradcons are your ideological foes.
I completely disagree. But I think they have very
similar
perceptions of hookup culture and a lot of things depending on the sect of feminism I am. I actually find way more common ground with conservative men than liberal men.
That's fabulous. But you think they're not living up to it. Okay, well then, find...
I think they overcorrect. They will vouch that they don't watch porn. They're going to be like, you know what I mean? The more they talk about how disgusted they are by porn, the more likely I am to find out that it turns out that they are watching porn. Like I said, I found that at like the micro anecdotal level of my dating life, and then also at the macro level just based on statistics.
Wait, you object to your partner watching porn?
It wouldn't be ideal, yes.
But my understanding is you don't do any nudity in your OnlyFans content, but you...
Wait, you have an OnlyFans too?
Yeah, she does. What?
OnlyFans. Are you kidding me? I've been... Oh, man, I thought you strung me along so well, and now you're going to pull the rug out. Hold on. You're the one who's trying to entice these men to look at this stuff. And then you're trying to put all of the blame on them?
My OnlyFans I started a year ago. I'm talking about, this is why I became disillusioned and pink-pilled, is because I did everything right. I was a virgin all through college. I'm still a virgin. I do all these things. I date these Christian conservatives. They talk about waiting till marriage. They talk about going to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Porn addicts, all of them.
Yeah. No, look, I don't doubt that porn addiction is totally prevalent.
And if they're not watching porn, they're following Instagram models. They're going to Hooters. It's mostly conservative men. Conservative men that I'd go on dates with, they'd have these like posters of like nude playgirls and stuff like that, like Playboy bunnies and stuff. And that's usually
Are you dating like 65-year-old men? What are you talking about, Playboy?
It's more of these conservative like Midwestern boys who like have that type of paraphernalia.
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
More,
hold on. Now, are we talking
that's
about?
More native to their
are we
culture.
talking about like a pinup thing in your garage from the 40s, or are we talking about like actual porn addiction where people are?
It doesn't matter.
Looking at
to
your
me,
content.
It's all the same. I'm just saying that like why is going to Hooters more acceptable? Why can't I throw my chips in?
Wait, one question. So, but you do make OnlyFans content. So I guess how do you reconcile that with objecting to your partner watching that sort of content, but you also produce that kind of content? I don't necessarily. Well, go ahead.
I mean, I just think it's funny because always on these red pill shows, men will get on here and be like, yes, I watch porn, but I wouldn't date a porn star. So what's the issue?
And you're saying I do porn, but I wouldn't date a guy who watches it.
Yes, because I'll tell you why. If you actually look at pair bonding, watching porn does affect your neurochemistry and your pair bonding. Me being lusted after does not affect my neurochemistry or my pair bonding.
But you're enticing them to do it. Like I'm maybe the least judgmental person on the right when it comes to this stuff because all sin and fall short of the glory of God. But you are part of the problem, and the thing that you're inveighing against is something that you are encouraging and profiting from as you encourage it.
That's only if you consider lusting to only exist within pornography. I think even if my boyfriend were lusting after like 18-year-olds, like a cashier at a grocery store, I would think that's just as wrong as
Lust
watching
is
pornography.
Bad. Yeah. And pornography
no, I'm not
encourages
enticing them.
And inflames
Same
lust.
way, even if I didn't do pornography and I was just an attractive woman, that doesn't mean I'm enticing men by putting on makeup every day. It's up to them to not lust after.
Putting on a little bit of rouge is going to be less exciting to a man than doing pornography.
I don't know if you've heard JP talk about it. He says women put on blush to simulate sexual orgasm in their face. And
actually,
that's also
if you want to get into
sexualized.
female cosmetic coalitions, there's a very interesting anthropological point to that very thing you've just said. But clearly there are gradations also. A 1940s pinup poster and hardcore porn on the internet, one is going to excite one more than the other.
Yes, and if we're talking gradations, and where I fall in those gradations is probably on the more mild side. I don't do nuded content, but
you don't do nude content? What is OnlyFans? I thought OnlyFans was porn.
Nude content if anyone wants to check it out.
You can post whatever you want. Cardi B just gets on there and yaps and is one of the top 10 creators. But I mean, regardless, like I said, even if I did do nude content, even if I did necessarily like touch myself on camera, that doesn't affect my neurochemistry in terms of pair bonding. But a man
but it
watching
the
that,
men.
yes,
you're doing something bad to these men and then complaining that the men are bad.
Well, that doesn't follow, because if I wore a bikini and went to the beach, that doesn't mean that it's my fault. Then if my boyfriend checks out women and just stares at them on the beach, like I'm not responsible
I think women
for
should be
his
more modest
inordinate
on the beach,
amount of
actually.
lust.
Yeah, I do. I do think they should.
I don't think most people would subscribe to that. I don't think most people would say that if I wear a bikini on the beach, that means I'm a hypocrite. If I say I don't want my boyfriend just ogling women at the beach all the time,
No,
and I
but
think
you're-
that would make an improper
but
partner.
You're not really complaining about men who go to the beach and maybe take a little gander down the shore. You are specifically complaining about men who look at pornography.
No,
And
I
think
didn't.
You're right
No,
to
I
complain
didn't.
about
That's why I brought up VS Angel shows. That's why I brought up Hooters. That's why I
what?
brought up the posters.
VS
Victoria's Secret.
Why would I
Oh,
bring
yeah,
up
yeah.
all these things if the threshold for me was just pornography? That's why I walked it back and said all these other
Okay,
things.
you did walk it back and
Yes.
included these other things, which I think are totally legitimate. But there are plenty of things that I think are bad, and plenty of sins that I fall into, like all the time, right? But I don't complain about them being bad while actively promoting them. There's no cognitive dissonance there.
No, I think it's bad if you're in a relationship and you're lying to your partner and saying, I don't watch porn, and then you do it. And then you consume it. That doesn't mean
That's also bad.
That doesn't mean I think watching porn is morally bad on its own. If I'm saying I don't want that, that's why reason I said I don't think necessarily dating women is bad. But if I was married to a man, then yes, I would say him dating other women is bad. Doesn't mean I'm condemning dating in general.
So you're coming back to the same thing that you said about abortion, which is I would never do it, but I'm not going to say it's wrong.
No, I think once you're in a relationship, there are certain activities that you should not do,
because
such as dating other women. So
what if your partner says that it's okay to do that?
what do you mean? I would find someone who has moral congruence to me.
Right, but you're saying if you're in a relationship, you shouldn't date other women. But what if, not you, but some guy were dating some girl, and dating you? You really? Oh no. And you would say, okay, it's fine if you date other women. Would you say that's then you would say in that relationship it is fine to sleep with other women, or no?
Like, are you asking me, do I have objective moral guidelines for what dating should look like?
Yeah.
I think if your goal is to have the most optimal marriage, there's lots of things you should not do, such as I think you should have a low body count if you want to optimize, longevity of marriage. I don't think you should watch porn. At the same time, I don't like that it stops at just those two things. Like, I think those are just the two things we use to shame women and try to force them into modesty. But there's other things. For instance, like, you shouldn't even cohabitate with your boyfriend before marriage, even if you're not sleeping together, if you technically want to increase your chances of longevity.
Why not?
And even once
why shouldn't you cohabitate?
It's not about shouldn't. I'm saying it more.
Why would you discourage cohabitating?
It's not about discouraging. That's why I'm saying I'm not moralizing it.
Whatever you just
I'm
said
saying
about
if your
cohabitating,
goal-
why are you saying
If your aim is to have the longest, most healthiest, most happiest marriage possible, statistically speaking, not having previous sexual partners, not living together before marriage will optimize those things. That doesn't mean I'm moralizing it. Same way again,
why,
if
though?
you're
why
married,
with cohabitating? Because it's an important point on what we were just talking about.
you desensitize, you kind of shore up on wifely duties before actually getting wifed. It gives the guy this incentive where he doesn't have to, buy the cow because he's getting the milk for free, all that bullshit. But that actually pans out statistically. But my point is, we talk.
And because it's enticing, right? Because it's tempting. You're not going to cohabitate and not sleep together.
That's not true.
You think you could cohabitate and not sleep together?
I've done it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Was the man a homosexual?
Are you saying he's going to transgress my barriers if I'm like, don't fuck me?
No, I think he would find it. I think he would move out before he would deal with that.
Regardless, I'm just saying there are certain things that will optimize your marriage. For instance, even once you're married, if you guys don't sleep in the same bed, that will actually lead to a stronger marriage. That doesn't mean I necessarily prescribe it. It just depends. What are these variables that you want to add into your relationship to strengthen it? So it's not necessarily that I would say a guy shouldn't necessarily watch porn if his girlfriend's okay with it. Same way, again, technically I wouldn't prescribe don't sleep in the same bed together, even though that could also disaffect your marriage.
You've come to so many of the right moral conclusions, but you just don't want to take credit for them. You don't want to say that they're true. You just want to say that you just accidentally you've come to the right conclusions.
Let me ask you this. You probably prescribe that people don't have premarital sex, right?
Yeah, I would
Were you a
strongly
virgin until
discourage it.
marriage?
No, I was an atheist for 10 years. I did a lot of naughty things.
Okay, and you would probably prescribe that people don't watch pornography in marriage?
Yes.
And the reason being that would disaffect your chances of marital success and happiness?
No, I don't, as we were talking about earlier on ethics, I don't view ethics from the perspective of consequences.
But you also said what's
perspective of the
true is
action and
typically
character
what's
of the actor.
good, so they're kind of hand in hand. That's what you said
Right,
earlier.
but I don't consider means in light of ends. I don't think that good ends would justify immoral means. What I'm saying is that actions are good or bad depending on the actions, and more importantly, actually, on the character of virtue of the person who is acting in them. So the way that I would ascertain what's good or bad is is according to virtue, not according to some weird
Right.
calculation of like statistics say I'm going to be married longer or whatever.
Well, if I
Final
were-
thought from the both of you on this. Go ahead.
I was just
Farah,
going to
and
say,
Michael
well,
Knowles.
statistically speaking, couples are happier together when they don't sleep in the same bed. Would you not prescribe that then? Because there's no virtue tied to it. That's more
No,
just a
no, there's a
consequence.
lot of virtue tied to modesty and restraint and waiting until marriage.
No, that's not what I meant. Even once you're married, you'll have a more successful marriage, statistically speaking, if you don't sleep in the same bed as
Well,
your
that's very
partner.
aristocratic. I'm too middle class to do that, but yeah, the aristocratic classes sleep in different beds.
I guess my point was that people pick and choose what level of pair bonding they want to create with their partner, whether it's not watching pornography, having premarital sex, and then not sleeping in the same bed.
I'm skeptical that you actually have more marital satisfaction if you don't sleep in the same bed. But the British royals have been doing it for a long time, and they all cheat on each other, I guess. So maybe,
Right. I guess what I was trying
Yeah,
to
I guess that
outline is
undermines
just that
it.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of different
I am going to have to
things.
move it
Yeah.
on. We have